and welcome to Crafts and Crime. I'm Amy.
I'm Elaine.
And as always, we have a craft and a crime.
Wee-wee.
That was new.
Yeah. I'm going to change it up for everybody.
Yeah, I was waiting for the yay or... yeah, my microphone's being all finicky now because I moved it.
It's being fussy.
I know, like you last time. It's being fussy. Yeah, we just got done checking out the chickens.
Oh, yeah.
I know, Belial's so pretty.
Super pretty.
He really is. And Feline.
Oh, my
She
baby.
is like sweeter than I think like most of my chickens.
She's my nicest. She's my sweetest. She likes me.
Mhm.
And then
Well, you got all the bugs.
Artemis and Honeydew are really shy. Which is
Mhm.
weird, though, because now that I think I figured out their breed, which is a blue Copper Moran,
Mhm.
which is really exciting. So we're going to have dark eggs from, I think we did talk about this
that's
before.
what I want.
We're going to have super dark eggs. Not the darkest, but they're still going to be like
Yeah.
chocolate colored.
Okay, so that just reminded me. I saw something on one of the chicken groups that we're
Mhm.
on, and it shows egg colors,
Mhm.
and it shows an Easter egg isn't blue eggs, and I'm like, but I have an Easter egg and she lays blue eggs, and I'm like, do I have an Americana and not an Easter egg? But I purchased an Easter egg, and I don't
Uh-huh.
remember if I purchased an Americana. I don't think I did because her blue eggs are like pale blue,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm like so confused now.
I'm still learning.
I'm like, I don't care. I call her Easter egger.
Yeah.
I don't have names for my chickens. We got Easter egger, the black one, Miss Frizzle, because she's like half frizzle and she looks like a crackhead.
Baby.
I need to get her a saddle. She's missing all her feathers.
Yeah.
And then
Which one's the one that's bullying her? The like super
the black
dominant
one.
hen?
the black one.
The black one that doesn't have a name.
Doesn't have
And
a
see,
name.
that's the only reason
got
why
fancy
I named
neck.
Fancy neck, fluffy cheeks.
Fluffy cheeks. And then the other black one. The all black one is what I call it.
The all
the
black,
all black
one.
Oh, no, that's yours. No.
Oh,
The
yeah.
gray one.
Yeah.
So we have Easter egger and the gray one.
Mm-hmm.
And then Nikki.
Yeah.
Nikki because she's
What
like
color
a turkin.
eggs is she gonna lay?
I have no idea. Maybe cream.
Interesting.
I don't know. I'll let
Yeah.
you know when they start laying.
And so, does the rainbow egger actually lay like a blue or a pink or a cream?
I
Because
don't
I think
know.
that I don't know either.
That's why I'm like, does an Easter egger lay a blue egg or like? Because I swear I bought an Easter egger. I'm gonna look it up now because it's bugging me. Easter egger.
It's funny too because
Eggs.
there's the Araucana and the Americana.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Easter egger. Okay. It says blue to green, sometimes even pink.
Oh,
So maybe it was just the thing
cute.
that I saw. But yeah, those are like her eggs.
So pretty.
So right now I only have 3 laying hens, so it's easy to tell. Like the cream one is Miss Frizzle, the blue one is the Easter egger, and the brown one is the black chicken.
yeah,
The black chicken. I've had them for like years. I haven't named
there's
them.
these like because they're almost full size, their
Mhm.
wrists. Well, I guess their ankles.
Their ankles.
They have really cute like designer leg bands for like
Mhm.
us,
Yeah.
the person that doesn't have a massive flock where you can
Mhm.
identify them by the little symbol. So it's like a little, like they have them with like a little heart or a little flower.
Yeah.
And so
Or I know
think
by
that's gonna
color
be
you
cute.
could do it too.
Yeah.
Like, which was what we started with, but man, their ankles are so.
I think it just
Their
helps.
ankles. Their
And then I
legs
thought about it. I was like, oh, we could use the Cricut and make like a little sign chart that would like match it. So as soon as you look at it, you'll be able to remember.
I need to do that for my rabbits.
Yeah.
'Cause I have-
We will do it.
We will. I know. I keep saying like, oh, I need to get little name tags because it's like you're learning. It's like this
Mhm.
is Mary, this is
Yeah.
Molly, this is Mildred, this is
Mhm.
Bo. You know most
Yeah.
Rex and stuff. So I just need to make little cards, and I think that would help with like date of birth, for the baby, so I can help
Right.
keep just visually without having to like go on my phone or open that book that you got me. So
And it can be, we could do like the little slat with like a laminated name tag because then
That's
you
what I
could
was
dry
thinking.
erase the birth dates.
yeah,
And then slide it into the thing so it doesn't get wiped
Or
away.
I have a shit ton of those index cards. I just need to
Mhm.
find something that would be plastic where I could slide it in and
Yeah,
then just write a new index card. I seriously probably have like 1,000 because of the school.
that's true.
So I know. I bet you I could find some, or even just cut it in half. Duh. I
okay.
can't even like.
It's
Well,
okay.
okay. I got to be smart here. So, anyways, yeah. As always, we're talking about our animals, and today, as we record, is Harrison's birthday.
Aw.
He's 3, and he's still a
Little
big dummy.
baby. He
Oh.
really acts like a
You call him a
puppy.
baby. I'm like, he's a
Big
dummy. He is a dummy. big, so he kind of looks like, I think most people think he looks like a Rottweiler.
Yeah.
Or
That's exactly
and
the
people think
first
Ralph looks like a pit bull. And both of them have, it's so funny because they both have the same breeds in them, like Boxer, the American Staffordshire Terrier, which is technically kind of like a pit bull in that, right?
It's the earliest form of the pit bull.
So they both have that in
it's
them.
like the OG one.
And they are the sweetest babies.
They
But
really
yeah.
are.
But Harrison, he
has the eyebrows, and so he's
the little
so
dots.
expressive. Yeah,
Yeah, the little dots over his eyes. He's
Like,
all
he really
black
does.
and brown.
He has
and
like
he
likes-
has the markings like a Rottweiler.
and he smiles, and
Yes, he
he's really
does.
so sweet.
Yeah.
And he's
Oh
a
my
poor
gosh.
stinky baby,
He is
but
so
he got
stinky.
a bath,
Yeah.
and so now he's getting lots of attention.
Yeah,
this
he
sweet
still smells like a
baby.
dog, but
Yeah,
not a
but not
stinky
a-
dog. And he could smell better because that's when I threw
Excuse
my
me.
back out again,
Oh yeah.
and I couldn't even put away laundry, and it was like I had to have Troy do it. And Troy does a good job, but just like not like how I do it, you know, like
Especially
where
because
me and you did it last. Yeah.
exactly, with
where
those
we-
like that tool. we
Yes.
were-
So I need to do
Scrubbing
it
up in
again
his
because
armpits.
he smells like so good after that.
Yeah.
But
We
yeah,
should,
it's just
you know
like
what we need to do
his
is get
skin
some of
thing.
the lemon balm and like scrub it in his fur.
Yeah, I have that growing like a weed. Well, it is kind of like a weed.
Yeah. Actually, I need some more
Excuse me.
because we should put it in the nesting boxes. It's very good for the nesting
Oh.
boxes. And so
Okay.
mine is pretty much kind of dying. So I'm just going to cut it back and dry it and crumble it up in the nesting
Okay.
box.
Well,
And if
ours
they
is
eat it, that's
growing
totally
like crazy.
fine.
Yeah.
But, don't you have the wild all in the back?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like we just need to go and
We
harvest
need
it
to
all
just
in the back.
cut a ton of it
Did you
down and
see-
bundle it and dry it and then
Can you
crumble it.
not
Dude,
do it
we're
fresh
going to
in there?
make... You can.
Wait, I
but-
have all that dried lemon balm and that hanging thing that I
Yeah.
forgot about, and then it got rained on.
Well, as long as it didn't grow mold.
No, it
It's
didn't.
totally fine.
But I don't want to put it in my tea.
Yeah, it's totally fine. Yeah, put it in the
okay,
chickens.
We should do that.
Put it
Put
in
it
the
the
chicken. Okay,
Stuff
actually,
a chicken.
when I looked it up, I found a recipe for lemon balm chicken. When I was looking
Mm.
at putting it in the
I wanna do a
the
sage
nesting
butter
boxes.
chicken. We got a whole chicken today. I need
Every
to-
single time we're talking about the chickens.
Oh my gosh.
One
So-
more time, crafts, crimes, and chickens.
No, it's chickens, crafts, and crime.
Seriously,
Chickens,
that's
crafts,
right
and
because
crime.
it starts out
With chickens and then, yeah.
so we
Sorry, but chickens are
It's
our life.
fun. It really is so rewarding and funny and like
Same thing with the quail.
they
Like,
really
it's
are so precious and silly
Mhm.
and with given the adequate space and
Mhm.
cleanup, they're clean
Yeah.
and they're fine.
I need to probably take that whole bag of pine shavings and just put it down. But I
I'm
think
telling you,
one of
we're gonna go to the
sprinklers is,
feed
like,
store and I'll grab us a thing of straw or hay, the bale. We'll take the truck and
Oh,
then we'll
yeah.
split the bale.
Oh yeah, now we could do that because
Mhm.
before Jack would have to take his car, and oh my gosh, it would take forever to get out of the carpet.
Yeah, nope.
Yeah,
we'll
no, we
totally
need-
take the truck, and I think I checked the
Um,
bale price was like $11.
yeah, it's cheap. It's
We
cheap.
could
And then
probably
you
even
back
get
up
a
into the
couple.
back. You're talking about all pet, right?
I think with the big giant rooster.
Yeah, I know what you were trying to say. Yeah, all pet. We'll go there.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I've never been
Yeah.
there, and then we're
Oh.
gonna probably come back with.
No, I can't. My run is half the size of yours.
I know,
But my coop is outside and yours is inside. But it's still more
I
space.
do want to before that coop gets
But they
so
like
foul.
jumping up on top.
Yeah, I
You just
want
need a
to.
longer hose.
All I want to do is I want to move it closer to the door so that I can pop in, grab the eggs, and get out, and not have to walk all the way to the back. 'Cause I keep hitting my head.
No, yeah.
So before it gets filthy, like we'll all have to long sleeve and glove it up, and just if we could move it, that'd be super cool. I think Troy and Kirk could do it.
Yeah, probably.
Have them get
Like they
long
did last time?
sleeves and exactly. They said it didn't even weigh anything. Of course,
Well, it didn't have a roof.
that's true. We'll leave the roof on for them then.
I know. Yeah, and so how tough are you now?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, we'll get on with the podcast. We're already
Yeah.
talking about chickens for 9 minutes. I almost said 9 hours.
It could be.
That's a little more
Let me tell
accurate.
you.
Yeah, especially when we get like the Homestead magazines and stuff, and it's always got chickens in it.
I'm
and-
so excited to. I haven't even gotten to look
Oh, me
through mine
either.
at all. We
Me
could
either.
look together.
Okay, we'll do it. We will do
We
it.
will do it.
Okay.
We're so gonna make like a bumper sticker or something that
Yeah,
says that eventually.
will
like,
do it.
We will do it.
Yeah.
It's a positive motto.
Yeah.
We will do it.
We will do it. Yeah, it all
Mhm.
started with Avery saying that I will do
I
it,
will do it.
and then Lily. I already did
I
it.
already did it.
I already did it.
Too late. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay,
So
so
shut up now.
it's a short one. It's not a long craft. So, so for those that like the craft, I'm sorry, it's a little short one, but there's not a whole lot on it.
Okay.
But Okay, so my craft is cross stitch.
Oh, yay.
And the reason I thought to do this was I like went through a few, and the reason I thought to do this one was because I'm currently working on a cross stitch. Did I yeah, I showed you. You saw it before I started doing all the threads and stuff. Yeah. So
Yes.
she's fixing her
Sorry.
headphones. No, that was me like the last episode. My headphones were all tangled. Okay, so what is cross stitch? It is basically a counted thread embroidery type thing. So you have an X shape that creates a pattern. So each stitch creates a little X and then it makes it into a pattern. So the fabric used is called an even wear type of fabric, and it's usually linen or Aida cloth. Is that how you say
Yes.
it? Yeah.
I do embroidery, and I didn't know that's what that was called. Oh, what did you
Even
say?
wear.
Oh, okay.
So even wear, it means that the fabric is like the same number of threads per inch, both vertically and horizontally. So it's like a grid. So you picture like
Gotcha.
a bunch of squares. It's even all the way through. So as you're working your cross stitch, you're working into these little holes, and that's how you make sure it's even wear. So the fabric is categorized by threads per inch and can range from 11 to 40 count. So obviously the smaller the number,
God, 40
yeah,
per square inch.
yeah. So the smaller is a bigger X, and the bigger number is a tinier X, because in that inch you're either going to have 11 or 40. So yeah. And I think the one I have, I don't even know. It was way bigger than I thought it was going to be. So it might not be the gift for this Christmas, but maybe next Christmas. So
I can't even imagine.
no,
I've never been able to complete one. I've never gotten past maybe 25 stitches before I was like, I hate it.
You just need to do the tiny ones.
I also
like
didn't have
not a lot of-
glasses though.
Yeah.
So my vision is not like horrible, but it's just bad enough. And so to follow the pattern up close, I would have needed like the hot light with the lamp and the clip on and stuff. But I haven't tried since I got
that little
glasses.
light that Jack has is perfect for it.
Yeah.
Like
the little
the one that
tabletop
I
one?
used to use.
It's an hot light, isn't it?
It's yeah. And so I bought it for when I was doing nails and like gel nails for people and stuff. And then it was just sitting around, so I gave it to Avery for when she does her nails and whatever. And now Jack's using it for all of his little 3D printing figurines or whatever to paint them, and because they're so tiny.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say, I think, when we pulled down that bag so I could find it, I think I have itty bitty ones in there, like literally the little tiny thing that would be like perfect for you, where it's probably literally like 50 stitches to like
Crystal
make a whole
tried
thing.
to give me one, and I couldn't even do it.
Really?
But like I said, I didn't have glasses. I have glasses now.
You should try it one more time.
Probably should
I know
try
you tried
again.
crochet again, and it's just not your thing. But if you try it and it's not your thing, I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, I probably should, because I can see better.
Yeah, and we have that light.
Yeah, that's very
I
true.
use that side lamp, like the side lamp, the reading lamp.
Yeah,
like
the
right
one
by
next to you.
Yeah, the one next to me, and it works perfect. So, anyways,
Zoe.
back to yes. So, yeah. So from 11 to 40. So the bigger the number, the smaller the grid. The tighter the I don't know, the picture. So
Yeah.
So there is usually a counted pattern that is followed, and this is like reading off of a chart, like a printed paper like chart, and you're following it and you're counting. But a pattern could also be printed onto the cloth, so you're following the color on the cloth. And I have done this with like latch hook, where you're just following this little square is purple, so that's where purple goes, and they do the same thing. So it's like very kind of vague. I think they probably have them where you follow both the chart on the paper and the chart on your printed fabric. So you're just doing a bunch of X's to create your pattern. So as I said, I do counted cross stitch and follow a pattern off of a piece of paper. And so this requires me to count the number of X's like that I do in an area with a specific color. So it'll be just picture in your head, like you're doing an L, so you're doing like 5 purple X's over, 6 purple X's up, or whatever. So,
like
so
little
that's
Tetris cubes of color.
Yeah. And so you're basically taking, a color of thread, and you're doing your X's on your pattern. And I do a little highlighter to mark it off as I do it. And so it's like, you'll do one color like blue. Oh, this whole area has a bunch of blues, and you skip around. You just have to count your squares, and then you make your little pattern. It's pretty easy once you get the hang of it.
Yeah.
So, The cross stitch is actually one of the oldest forms of embroidery, and it has been found all over the world, dating all the way back to the Middle Ages. And many museums are show clothing with cross stitch, and most of these are found in Europe and Asia. And a cross stitch sampler, as it was called that because it was usually stitched by a young girl who was learning how to stitch, and motifs and initials were stitched into household items to identify the owner, or just to simply just decorate it.
Yeah.
And
because they were all white.
Yeah.
Off-white.
Yeah. So they would add little flowers or whatever to it. So the earliest dated cross-stitch sampler was made by an English girl named Jane Bosstick, and it dates back to 1598. And that date is actually stitched onto the piece.
Oh, I love it.
So it's exact. That's the year that it was made.
And see, I'm sorry, just like last week,
yeah,
everybody loved to keep track of things in time.
It was
important.
I know.
It made my sentimental heart.
So it goes all the way back to 1958.
Cute.
So the piece depicts floral and animal motifs as well as an alphabet. So this suggests that she may have had access to a pattern book because she used multiple different stitches in her piece, and some of them were really complicated stitches. So it's not just an X and cross stitch. You can do a half of an X, and you can do knots. You can tie in little flowers or whatever. Yeah, there's.
Oh yeah, I've seen kits that have the one you're working on. They have little beads and extra things you do details and add in.
It's not just cross like an X. It's not just that. You can have half a cross, half an X or whatever. So there's a lot of different.
Would half a line be for shading type of stuff?
Yeah, and there's also one where
cross hatching. Sorry.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it could be for shading where you don't want the color as dark, or you're doing, it's there's also ones where you're filling half of the X. So picture you do a half of an X, so you do one line, and then instead of going all the way through, you stop. So you're doing almost like a Y.
Okay.
So it's from one corner to the other, and that I can't remember what that's called, but there's a lot of those. Usually when you get a kit, it'll tell you all these stitches, and you can YouTube any of this. That's usually what I do. I'm I don't know this stitch. It usually will show you how it's done. I know a French knot's really it takes practice to get it just right. So there were a lot of these kind of stitches in there that showed she had to have been following some sort of general pattern or whatever. So she used all these stitches, and a lot of them were complicated, but the earliest cross stitch sampler in the United States was made by Laura Standish, who was the daughter of Captain Miles Standish and pioneer of the how do you say this? Leviathan? Oh, did I do it? Yeah, Leviathan stitch. Oh. Yeah, Leviathan. Leviathan.
Yeah.
Why did I say it like that? Leviathan stitch in 1653. It's now at the Pilgrim Hall in Plymouth, Massachusetts. If you live out in Plymouth, Massachusetts, go to the Pilgrim Hall and you can see Laura Standish's cross stitch sampler. Man, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
So, as we were talking, cross stitch usually is used to decorate stuff, your linens, your bedding, your pillowcases, and stuff like that, and dishcloths, doilies, whatever. So usually it's just a little part of it, or a border, picture a little edge of a pillowcase and you could do a little cross stitch border. Cross stitch was used to make greeting cards, pillow tops, coasters, trivets. I actually did 2 cross stitch projects for Lincoln Lily's pillowcases, the Little Mermaid and the Cars one. I made those for Troy and Avery when they were little, and we saved them, and now they're Lincoln Lily's. That's a cross stitch on there.
Didn't you cross stitch Lenora bib?
Yeah,
I know I kept it for sure, but I'm I also got I think my old cross stitch bib from my mom. And I swear Crystal may have as well.
Oh really?
But I have my little trinket memory box of Lenore's baby stuff.
Yeah, I think I did. I'm pretty sure I did.
In my storage unit.
I made my mom and and Bud the happily ever ever, like I made you and Kurt.
Yes, that was like
for
such
when you guys got
a
married.
pretty present.
Yeah, so I cross stitched you guys
it.
stuff. So yeah, with your names and the date and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So
for future historians,
yeah. When were they married? We found this cross stitch.
Exactly.
Forget the birth certificate, marriage certificate. We've got this cross stitch.
Here we go.
So Berlin wool was Berlin wool work was in Europe and North America from 1804 to 1875, and this was made using wool yarn on canvas to create a pattern, which is why it's Berlin wool work.
Oh my gosh, all these tongue twisters.
I know. All for cross stitch.
I would have been like Berlin work.
Yeah,
I have a
not Berlin. Berlin wool work.
There you go.
I said it right the first time. So now we don't really use wool. We use cotton floss. It's the most common thread used in cross stitch, and it's made of.
Oh my god! Could you imagine using wool?
No, how itchy my fingers would
and
be.
Scratch. It
Yeah.
As it pulls through the fabric. Oh.
So now, thankfully, we use cotton thread, and it's made of mercerized cotton that is made of 6 strands that are loosely twisted together, and these strands of thread can easily be pulled apart because a lot of times you only need maybe 1 thread or 2 or 3. Like usually it's 3.
Yeah.
So other threads can be used like silk or rayon, and as you said, there are like metallic threads that can be used, beads, pearls, and so it gives it more of like a dimensional look. So it's not just thread, that are cotton thread that's used. You could use other stuff. So cross stitch has become it started to become more popular in recent years, and the younger generation in Europe started cross stitching more often, and retailers actually saw a huge increase in sales between 2009 and 2010. And I think that's when I really started cross stitching a lot more. I knew I did it before because, like you said, I did Lenore's bib and stuff. So I know I did it in the early 2000s, but I really did it more later, and I still do it. So, that's pretty much all I could find on cross stitch. It's pretty short.
I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say, but I do have a fun fact.
Oh, yay!
But what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just gonna say, with so many other crafts, the COVID pandemic really opened up a lot of things, and I found so many people are rediscovering it, and it's I do embroidery, not currently, but I do, and it can be such a calming, relaxing thing because as much as it seems like it would be tedious, you're just it's just a constant, it's an up and down, it's a sound, it's I have control over this. and I think that it really has been brought out new. And again, we've kind of talked about this before, our generation and the younger generation coming up underneath us, realizing the value of these crafts and the money and the time and effort.
Oh, yeah.
And people starting to be completely comfortable understanding that if you were to sell an item like this, it's an $80 to $100 decorative pillow. It matters. It's different. Not that we don't love Walmart and Amazon, but it's not the same thing.
No, it's not.
And people really realize the reason those handmade blankets cost so much.
Yeah, and I did the ornaments that one year for Christmas, and they were all cross-stitch ornaments. I had a pattern, but it was cute. It was a penguin, a polar bear, and a snowman or whatever. So I did that, and it was perfect because there were 6 ornaments, and there's 6 of us. So everyone got a cross-stitched ornament. And I made Bud for, it was Father's Day, I believe. Or was it his birthday? It was I think it was Father's Day. I made him a giant, it was pretty big, cross stitch of a sailboat and a fishing pier and stuff, and it kind of looked like the grandpa with the grandson fishing and stuff. So it was perfect coloring for it matches their room. And then my mom went through my grandma's old cross stitch and found one that she wants to frame. So we've just been trying to keep an eye out for when the frame goes on sale, because frames are expensive, but at Michael's really they'll go on sale sometimes for 50% off. And so that way on her side of the bed, because they have walls kind of like ours, where you could, it's a tiny little piece where Bud has his on one side. My mom's like, oh, I want to put one of her mom's on that side. So
cute.
So yeah, my grandma cross stitched a lot. my mom's mom.
Mm-hmm.
My
Aw,
other
I
grandma,
like that.
she sewed and stuff. I don't think she cross stitched. I think she might have done embroidery. I don't know, but yeah, she.
I'm not
so-
even sure if my grandma did, but I don't think so.
Well, I know my grandma Pascoletto. She
That's fun.
yeah, she
Now that I'm
cross-stitch.
thinking about it, I can't think of any of the elder women in my family doing needlework.
Oh, really?
And
Both
a lot
my
of
grandmas
kids.
did.
They were really
my mom.
busy, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
My aunt sews. She would do those rag quilts and stuff. So yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of my family does
I
like
think-
crafty stuff.
I think they did sewing projects, but not like
Mhm.
knitting, crochet, embroidery, crewel work, anything like
Yeah.
that. You know.
Yeah, I do it
cross-stitch.
all. I do all the fiber stuff.
I want to learn more of them, and don't even get me started on the rug tufting guns.
Oh my gosh, I get stuck on those videos like the
they're so.
boom,
I'm
boom,
like,
boom,
I could
yeah,
do
I'm
that.
like, I wanna do that.
We totally could. We will do it.
yeah. Okay, so I do
Sign
have
up for Patreon so that we
Seriously.
can buy a rug tufting gun and we'll make
Yeah.
videos.
yeah.
Okay, fun facts, right? Oh, wait,
I have
did
a fun fact. Yes.
Yay! Okay.
Okay, so the current. Okay, so this was off a website. It's all going to be cited. Everything is cited,
Yeah.
in our sources on our show notes. So the current record for the largest cross stitch piece is a replica of the painting "The Battle of Grunwald" by Jan Matejko. I don't know. It was painted in 1878. Now this piece this cross stitch measures 30.2 feet by 13.3 feet, or 9.2 meters by 4.05
It's a
meters,
mural.
which is almost as big as the painting itself.
Yeah. Ding.
It has over 7,897,840 stitches. And it took stitchers 1 year.
Dang.
It took 29 stitchers.
Oh, okay. So it was a group project.
Mhm.
I love
1
that.
year and 3 months to finish it, and it was made up of 50 different panels that were then connected together to make the final
Oh,
product.
That's
Because
very
think about
interesting.
that size of fabric and
Everybody
working
needs
in
to
little
work
pieces.
on it. Can you imagine if everyone's holding it? It'd be like the parachute game in elementary school.
And I should mention that just like embroidery, a lot of times cross stitch is done on like a hoop,
Yeah, okay.
because that's what I use as a hoop, and it holds the fabric taut, and so that so that all of your stitches are even and flat
Oh.
and not all like bunched up. And
I
so
think my
picture all
mom's
these
favorite
stitchers.
is the frame kind.
I had that
the
and I
bars.
threw it away.
That's
Yeah.
what the bars. Oh,
I threw it away. It was just floating around, and I only used it like one. It was bulky, and I couldn't get comfortable because when I
Gotcha.
cross stitch, I like to lay on the couch. Or
Yeah.
not lay on the couch. I like to sit on the couch and like
Yeah.
prop myself
Yeah.
up and stitch and watch TV.
I always
or
like to
whatever.
push myself back in the corner of the couch,
Mhm.
doing embroidery, like tuck in.
Yep, that's pretty much what I do. So that's what I had taken. I took it
I
out
think
to
my
sew-
mom's
to
a
show
sitter
someone.
upper, leaner forwarder.
I used to do that, but then I couldn't anymore. And I
Yeah.
had it for the big, the Snow White one. And I think because it was that size, I think that's maybe what messed me up. And I have to take half of that out. And I just, once again, you have to count your stitches right. Otherwise, it's off and my whole
Yeah.
picture's off. The tree's not where it's supposed to be.
Dang.
So, yeah, I have to take it all out. But
It didn't look like it was too much, but
oh,
I
it's bad.
understand
When it's
the
off by
frustration.
3
No,
and
no,
you're
I was
following,
meaning like it didn't look like you had to pull out too much, but
it's
it still
like half
sucked.
of that work.
Really? Was
yeah,
it the tree?
it was the whole tree, that whole side.
Oh,
So I
guess I
somehow
must have
skipped a couple
misunderstood. I
steps.
thought it was just that little part of the trunk that I saw.
No,
Oh,
no. So I need to
no.
literally go back with another colored
See,
pen and
that's
mark
what
it.
stresses me out is like with embroidery. It's
Mm-hmm.
basically even when you have a pattern, there will be. Never mind. Maybe I'll talk about embroidery.
I'll leave that to you because I was like,
Okay.
oh, maybe I'll do embroidery, but you're the one that does it. I don't do embroidery.
I'll see.
I don't.
You can
I've
chime
tried.
in just like we do together. But
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. Be
Yeah.
quiet. Just
Okay,
kidding.
I won't talk about it. Okay, you gonna bring us all down?
Yeah.
Okay.
I am taking it way back even farther.
Oh, before Victorian, like last time.
Yes, we are in the Georgian period of the UK.
Okay. When is that?
16, 1700s.
I'm bad with.
That's
I'm bad
okay.
with history.
It's right before Edwardian.
Okay.
Catherine Hayes, born in 1690 near Birmingham in the UK, had a pretty bad childhood. Her mom supposedly was a philanderer. She was unfaithful and what they considered to be wicked, so probably just volatile and abusive to her and her dad. And besides that part of her early life, there's not really that much. But our story starts at 15. The military officers came through town, and she had befriended one of them, and as 15-year-old girls do, she was flirty, and he liked her back, and she realized this was her way out. This was her way out. So
it's so sad how that always happens.
Yeah, so she sees her chance to run, and so she leaves with him, and they go to Ambersley, which is in Worcestershire. I can't either. I'm so sorry. And unfortunately, though, she ends up with no better life than she had originally had. She would end up having to turn to prostitution to live, and so she was her clients were the military soldiers, officers that she ran away with into the town they had moved on to, so there was more there, and other girls as well. But unfortunately, I mean, when the officers had to move post, they took the money with them, you know, and so she ended up being broke and had to make some, like, what was she going to do? What was her next step? Just by the time
15, right?
15, yeah. So she's 16 years old now. Okay. So she spent about a year doing that. And she now leaves to Warwickshire to find work as a domestic servant. So that just a housekeeper. They could be also a maid, a nanny, cook, kind of just in general, whatever needs to be done around the house. So she was hired on as a servant for the Hayes family, and Mr. Hayes had 2 sons. They are just a little bit older than her. The oldest, his name is John, and him and Catherine hit it off, of course. They're in the house together often. She sees him working in the farm, you know. So they start their relationship and they fall in love. But what ends up happening is they have children out of wedlock.
Oh. So
one of them was left at a church, a town over in Holtheath, and they think that there was other secret pregnancies. So, but one for sure was abandoned, you know, given up for adoption to a church, not just like in the street.
Yeah.
So, but they loved each other, and she wanted to get married, but John's father, Mr. Hayes, I'm sorry, I don't have his first name. I'll dig a little deeper. He had feelings about them. They'd been together a little while already, and there's kids that you couldn't even take care of the kid. Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
There's something going on.
Yeah.
So he has his feelings about her, but she threatens to commit suicide if John does not marry her. So, him and his father both agree. And on her wedding night, this is when her true colors come out.
Oh, God.
On her wedding night, she had her new husband press ganged. So I had to look that up, and that means when you are basically jumped by military soldiers and forced to enlist.
What?
Yeah.
So
yeah. So
I've never heard of this.
Right. So the reasoning for that is they think because she I'm not bagging on promiscuity, but she was very promiscuous, and
she didn't want to commit to one.
No,
maybe?
she wanted to have more soldiers available to her. So if she got her husband John enlisted, she would have more men in uniform near her. That's pretty much what they're thinking.
Okay.
So yeah. His dad manages to get to save him, and we're pretty sure there was a bribe that happened. And so his dad saves him from the beating.
Oh, okay.
And Catherine still convinces John to enlist.
What?
I know. There's going to be a lot of that word, convincing. It's just a very abusive relationship. That's the thing.
It's mentally abusive and persuasive.
And coercive. And so I think that's the theme of this, is that women can be abusive too. And this is, she's been abusing him consistently. She doesn't hide the fact that she has affairs and stuff. So that's the problem.
She's
damaging.
Yeah.
And that's not healthy. That's not nice and caring to people you care about. So, oh goodness.
Ooh, that was my chair. Sorry.
So she has convinced him to enlist, and that takes them to Spain, and she ended up running around, partying, drinking, having affairs. And he was not a partier. He was not that kind of person.
Really?
He was a hard worker. He was pretty calm. She was just terrible. She was very abusive and sad. And so that was very sad for him. I mean, her own life, but we make our choices, So the way that she grew up in those circumstances, but we definitely make some choices. Even in the face of mental illness, there are moments, there are choices to, but we don't really know. So, John's father gets him released from the military for about 60 pounds, which was about $4,500 today.
Oh, wow.
And he's just a farmer. Like, I don't know where the heck he must have been his whole life savings.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm like, what? Was it literally that corrupt then, where it's like, hey, I'm going to just pay you?
Sure.
Oh, wow.
I'm sure. Yeah. They could just
Here's
lose his
for
paperwork.
the war
I'm
effort
sure,
or whatever.
Right?
Yeah.
Sure. So, here we go again. They go back home now to the UK to back on the farm, and they have a pretty decent, well, John thinks they have a nice, decent life, but she is tired of rural farm life, and she convinces John, which I think the word convinced is she just nagged him until he gave up and gave in.
Yeah.
Because he
just
cared about
berated
her.
him until it was finally like, fine.
Let's just,
kind of like you see in, maybe not convinced, but coerced him is maybe a better word, because think about like,
there's probably how much abuse took place to get him to decide.
And think about like police interrogations and confessions, false confessions, where it's just like they're coerced into confessing so that
he's
the torment
working,
stops.
He's tired,
he's probably like,
so every waking hour
like,
she's probably harassing him.
That makes sense.
So, he finally buckles and he says okay, because he loved her, and so they moved to London, and he became a coal salesman. And, and then a little bit later, he ended up a pawnbroker, which is exactly what we know it as today. So he would, take things for money and keep it, and if they paid him back with interest, he'd give their stuff back. And a little bit later, unfortunately, his father passed away. And so sadly, now he's not going to have his dad's strength to help him through these situations that he ends up in because of Catherine. And so he uses the funds from his father's passing, and he starts up a pretty successful money lending firm. So a bank, OG banks, they just loan out some money and then they pay you back with interest. So. But unfortunately, obviously, their marriage is falling apart. She wants more money to party, and he, she has an allowance and she wants more money, and he is telling her no, and she's freaking out. And so instead he ends up giving her less money. So I was like, I guess that'll teach her.
Yeah. That's kind of like when someone tries to bargain with you or like barter with you on like Facebook Marketplace or whatever. And
$5.
I had one person, it was the BMW convertible hardtop that we had for like the 1995. Those are like, you can't really find the hardtop in as good condition. And I had people like, I'll give you this, like, so I can't even remember how much we sold for. So like, let's just say, for example, $1,500, and someone would be like, I'll give you $800, and I'm like, no, it's $1,500, and I had already like lowered the price, and they'll be like, well, would you take $1,000? I'm like, no, it's $1,500, and then they're like, would you take like $1,100. And I'm like, you know what? For you, I'll do $1,800. So it's like,
seriously,
don't even come at me. Like, I'm not like and I would say like price is firm, because I had already lowered it to my bottom dollar, and in there I said like price is firm. So it's like, yeah, don't, if you, do you want to make it worse? Okay, fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get it where it's like, oh, you want more money here?
You want to have more of a tantrum because I
you
said
want
no.
60? How? Okay, fine. Here's 40.
There you go. Now be quiet. He like put her in timeout.
Yeah, seriously.
So in 1725, Catherine is now about 35 years old.
Okay.
And money was getting tight. And so she had convinced,
coerced.
Yeah, she had harangued John to take in a boarder to rent out a space. And they took in a man named Thomas Billings, and he was a tailor. And he wasn't that old. He was only like 19 or so.
Wait, and how old is she? 35, you said?
35-ish.
Okay. Okay.
And Catherine and Tom start having an affair immediately.
Oh my gosh.
And but it's still not enough sex for her. She's truly, and so she ends up telling John, we need more money, we need another renter.
Oh
and
gosh.
So they end up with a second renter. Another young man named Thomas Woods. Thomas, there's two Toms now.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna refer to them as Billings and Wood because they're both Thomases. So Thomas Billings is the 19-year-old tailor, and Thomas Wood, he's a butcher. That's his trade.
And how old is he?
He's young too, as well.
So like around the same age. Okay.
Yeah.
I know around that time it's hard to find like exact details.
Yeah, like and I think a lot of them didn't even know. They just know the year they're born, and that's kind of it. Mm-hmm. So everybody was unhappy, but unfortunately in this time you didn't get divorced. That was not a thing. You did not divorce someone. So she starts talking to Billings and Wood, and she's like, how about we just kill John? Because if we kill him, then our problems will be over. We'll have the house and everything will be better.
Everything.
Because it has like some insurance money, like what was considered sort of insurance money. It's his money, so if he dies, that's for her.
Yeah.
So she starts telling lies to both Toms about John having killed a man before, that he was
to make him out to be like a villain,
that he was abusive, and that he had killed their children that they had out of wedlock, not abandoned one, and then who knows if there was other children. This is why they think that there were others. The one was abandoned, and then this one because she says he's killed our other children.
So
she mentions
there's more than one kid. Okay.
But there's no documented proof of that.
Yeah. Which I get at that time if like you're not really in a hospital.
Oh yeah, I mean a lot of the times they would sell their babies to baby farms places, and a lot of the times, though, sometimes they were okay, and they were churches, and they would
and they would care for them.
So Catherine told Wood, you can have the money that I'm worth when he's dead. The insurance money was £1,500, and today's money, it's about $111,000.
So not that much, but a lot.
A lot for then, like to live on probably most of your
life.
About
the times,
But
I'm like,
but to
now
still kill
you
somebody,
can't even buy a house.
But to still kill somebody, and the thing is that Wood, he felt himself to be a Christian person, and even though he was believing her lies of him being a murderer and whatnot, he didn't want to do it, and he even thought about telling the police, but he needed his place to live. He was stuck in a very difficult situation, because I'm assuming she wanted that booty, so she probably wasn't charging him that much. So she kept telling him, saying, that killing John would be as easy as killing a cat or a dog, was what she had said. And that because basically, you're a good Christian and he's a murderer, so you'd be sending him to hell anyway. Like, it's not that bad.
That's bizarre.
Right.
I'm like, I don't think I could do any of those.
No thanks.
So why are
no,
we comparing
I can't
it?
kill a cat or a dog, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Or a person.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
How is that all comparable?
Apples to oranges.
I know.
So weeks went by in this time that he kept contemplating what he was going to do. So it is now March 1st, 1726. Thomas Wood came home, and immediately he's met at the door, and Catherine has a drink in her hand.
Okay.
And she's like, here, let's have some whiskey. And he was like, no, I'd rather have some beer. So she gave him some money, and he went to go to the pub. He's just relaxing, having a couple beers. He really hasn't been home that much. He's stressed out.
Mm-hmm.
So he hasn't been coming home that much. So she's kind of like, come on, let's hang out.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes to the pub. He's at the pub. He's drinking a little bit. And Billings comes into the pub. And now I'm like, is it Billings? Yeah, Billings. My brain kept saying Billingsworth.
I know.
So he comes in and he's like, hey, let's go home, and all hang out. Everybody's hanging out. So it's like John and Catherine, like, we're all going to party.
Okay.
So they all go back. They're all sitting, having a really nice time. They're drinking a lot, and everybody's getting really intoxicated.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Catherine and Billings were actually staying more sober than the other two because they were planning something. So they needed to keep their wits about them. So sometime late into the evening, John is too drunk and he's ready for bed. So he goes upstairs and he gets in bed. And what he doesn't realize is Catherine and Billings follow right behind him. And she climbs into bed next to him so that he thinks, oh, it's just her. I'm drunk. Double vision. It's just her climbing into bed. And Billings comes over next to him and he bludgeons him in the head with a coal axe.
What?
Now, what a coal axe is, imagine a pickaxe, how it has like the pointy end and then the bladed kind of hoe looking end. Yeah. Well, this instead is like a sledgehammer. And then like the sharp. Coal? Yeah, so you would take the hatchet piece to hatchet off a chunk and the mallet end to blast it.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
So imagine that just cracked a head.
Oh my gosh, and she's laying right next to him.
She's laying right next to him, which is like morbid and gross. Yeah. Like you knew this was going to happen. So that's all it takes. He apparently spasmed pretty decently for a couple minutes and then he passed away.
Oh my gosh.
So it only took the one hit. And he pretty immediately he was gone. So I know, it's sad. He just wanted to make her happy.
Yeah.
Isn't that so sad?
He just wanted to live his life and be happy.
And be happy. He wanted a simpler life. So she told the Toms that they needed to decapitate him.
Why? He's already dead.
Because to conceal his identity.
What?
Because back then there weren't pictures and fingerprints and stuff. So if they just separated the head from the body, the head, it wouldn't be able to be identified. So Wood, what?
Okay, no, I'm just like, what do they do with the head?
So like they've got a plan.
Okay.
Wood is the butcher, remember?
Oh, okay.
So he is given a set of knives from Catherine and he gets to work and he removes his head. So some neighbors heard something happening. They heard a ruckus.
Okay.
And the neighbor comes over and it's like, Catherine, it's a woman. And she says, Catherine, like, what is going on? I hear a lot of stuff. And she goes, oh, no problem. Come in. It's just we're having a little party. Sorry. We're, having a lot of fun and we're drinking a little. And I know it's late, but you can come in and see everything's fine. She goes in. It's calm. But then she sees
blood on the neck.
The two Toms bringing down a little package like of cloth, like bundle.
Okay.
And it looks weird, and she's like, oh. And Catherine is immediately like, oh, it's just the rag bag, it's the garbage, it's just clothing, whatever. So she's kind of like, okay, whatever. And she leaves. That same night, both of the Toms, Wood and Billings, they get into a boat and they go down the Thames and they throw his head in the river.
But then his head could be found.
But if it, I know, but I think they're figuring like if it, they know it rots. They know stuff rot. If it can rot away fast enough, they're not going to be able to see. It's just going to take a little while.
So it didn't say anything if they
disfigured it more.
Yeah, did something to the face so it wasn't recognizable.
They wrapped it in fabric. Like that's what they did. They tied it up in fabric, and I think they figured it's just going to look like garbage in the river. And if anyone sees it, they're not going to fish it out.
True. Okay.
So not smart. I mean,
but I know I'm thinking they're going to find the head and then they can identify it. Like it could wash up 2 hours later and someone can find it. And
I know.
That's why I'm wondering if. Okay.
It was dumb. No, it's okay. So and the very next day they cut apart the rest of the body, remove the arms and the legs from the torso.
Oh my God, they're dismembering him?
And yes, and they put his body in a trunk and they dropped it into a pond. And I'm like, a pond?
Why not the river?
I don't know. Because they're trying to keep them separate, I guess. I know, a pond. Okay. But I guess in our mind, too, like a pond is just a body of water with no outlet.
Yeah, so, like a lake.
But it could be,
usually doesn't
but it's
have,
just not
but a
that
lake
big.
Has an outlet. Yeah,
but my brain thinks of something little teeny tiny in your backyard.
Like a puddle.
I don't think it was. Yeah. So, well, the head was found. Like very next day.
I called it.
The same day they were disposing of the body in the trunk in the pond, they found the head.
Okay. See, I was like,
now
that sounds like they're gonna find it. They're gonna.
It was just too dumb. I don't know why they figured it would stay wrapped up. The current is gonna open it up.
Okay. Yeah.
So. Now here comes the olden days. They took the head and they put it on a pole and they put it up in the churchyard so that people could see it and possibly identify it.
Ooh, that gave me the chance.
Right?
Gross. The thought of that, I don't want to see a head on
a
pole.
Like a decomposing head,
but I get it. Unless
but they also went to executions. Those were events. Those were public events, and that's how they solved
gonna get
things.
More of an accurate identification with the real face compared to, I guess, a sketch. Mm-hmm. Which, at the time, they don't have photographies. It's not like you can take a picture of the face and, do you know this man?
Yeah. Wow. So he was identified, John, his body, his head was identified just a few days later. And then on March 24th, let me go back one little second. So it's been just a few weeks. So March 24th, the body parts were found, and
in the
pond. Yeah, in the pond. Because again, people don't think, because now we know it releases gases and it brings it up. So I'm thinking that's probably exactly what it was happened. It had been a little bit.
It was in a chest thing, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
Yep, a trunk.
Yeah, that's a trunk. So all it is all the gas is building up in that trunk, and it's gonna rise up to the surface.
Yep. Yeah. So the three were arrested because they were. Obviously, it's her husband. The people are. His body is done.
Yeah, so, and I'm sure she didn't report him missing or putting up a big fuss of I don't know where my husband is.
Yeah, and it's not mentioned, but I'm sure the neighbor was like, I heard something, and I saw something carried down, so but that wasn't mentioned, but I'm assuming.
Oh yeah, well if they're doing proper investigation, they're going to talk to the neighbors.
We have the information that the neighbor was there, so.
Oh yeah, so obviously they knew they
something's
her.
going on, right? So the three were immediately arrested, and her and Billings were actually found in bed together when they were arrested, naked, doing it. Yeah. So, yeah. So that was obviously another thing to think of too is for the times she was a married woman, so that was already literally an assault on her character. The moment we go to arrest you, you're in bed with another man. That's not your husband. So it started off on a horrible foot. Yeah. So. Wood confessed immediately. He's the one that decapitated the body, the butcher. Wood confessed pretty much immediately, and eventually Billings did too. But Catherine had remained pretty steadfast to her innocence. Later on trial, her version of essentially saying she was guilty was that she repented for involving the two men in her affairs and the crime in general. So that was taken as guilt. She knew. We all know.
Yeah.
And so that was taken as her guilt. Now, here is the twist of all twists.
More of a twist.
I'm like, oh God, it's crazy.
Well, what?
So, during the trial, everyone found out Thomas Billings was her son. Yes. Thomas Billings, the 19-year-old, was the baby that was abandoned on the doorstep
How did they find
of.
that out?
She knew.
She knew?
She knew.
She was sleeping with her son?
Yes, and she
Whoa.
knew. He did
Whoa.
not know.
He didn't
He
know?
did not know.
But she knew.
And
How did
she
she knew? She
knew.
knew?
Yes.
Ew, this
I
woman
know.
is demented.
Yeah, she's so
What?
gross. Can you believe it? I was like,
Oh,
no way.
my God.
Yes. So, unfortunately, he now realizes at this point he just killed his own dad. He helped kill his own father.
That's right, because that's his dad, too.
Yes.
Oh, my gosh.
So, he has not, like, obviously, he made a horrible choice. A lot of horrible choices. And then this is coming back. He's finding out the same moment. But yes, she knew.
At trial.
Yeah, she
Finding
that's
this out?
That's how. No, she told them.
Oh, but
Yes.
in court. But,
yes,
like, yes,
that
so
is
he's
how
finding it out.
Thomas Billings found out at that moment. The woman he had been sleeping with for years
Oh
was
my
his
gosh,
mother,
years. Oh
and
my
he killed
I'm
his
so
dad.
grossed
I
out.
know, but
How
not that it made,
manipulative
I know,
is this
and
woman that
it's
she could make
disgusting.
that happen?
It's so disgusting. And there is a possibility that John was, because she was sleeping around at that time. There's a possibility
Oh,
that
that he
John wasn't.
Okay,
There's
that makes
a
lot
little
of
bit
sense.
of a rumor
Well,
that
some
possibly it was, I believe, a blacksmith or another tailor in town.
sense. Okay.
So maybe not John, but there's no way of knowing. So in his mind, that's his mom for sure, and he killed his dad too. Isn't that stuff? And she had, one of the things, remember, she had used to convince him was that he had killed our children. Remember? She was telling them. Yeah.
yes.
So
Not knowing that he's one of his children, her children.
yeah,
you know.
yeah, he didn't know.
Wow.
So Billings and Wood are charged with murder,
Okay.
and they're sentenced to hang.
Oh, wow.
And Catherine was charged with, this is really crazy, petty treason. So petty treason was actually a worse charge for killing somebody, because being a woman at that time, her husband was of a higher social standing than she was.
Okay.
And because he was a successful person in the community and part of the community, this was more so considered a crime against society, because that's just how the times worked. She was lesser than him. Women were lesser than him.
That is
And so,
interesting. Like, what?
right? So her sentence was to be burned at the stake.
Oh, my God. I was not expecting that.
Right?
What? So not like hang, but
No.
burned
To be
at
burned
the
at the
stake
stake
like a
for-
witch?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So, interestingly, Wood actually died in his cell the day before his execution from jail fever, and I looked that up. Jail fever is epidemic typhus, and so
okay.
because you get typhus from the bacteria Rickettsia prowazeki from body lice.
Yeah.
And so
wow.
it was
Okay.
dirty and gross. And in those few weeks during the trial and stuff, he died because he got sick and died. So his death was not nice. So
This was her son?
no,
Oh, okay,
Wood
the other
is
guy.
the
Okay,
butcher,
okay,
the one
okay,
that
yes.
did
Okay, the dismembering.
butchering,
Yeah,
the dismembering
okay.
of the body. Mhm.
Okay. Wow.
And right, so this really crazy part was that she was forced to watch her son's hanging, and so it was the day before her execution.
Oh my God.
So she was forced to watch her lover's son be hanged, and yeah, it's
Don't say that.
gross.
That's
I
gross.
know.
Her lover
It's
son.
gross.
It really is.
Mhm.
Ugh.
So she was forced to watch that as like part of her. This is your fault, This is your fault.
Part
so
of your
you,
punishment. Yeah.
Mhm. So now it is her time. She was stood on a bundle of twigs with a chain around her waist attached to the pole, but this gave her actually a little bit of movement.
Mm-hmm.
And because that way when the flames start you can flail, so it's just a fear reaction. So they start the fire, and this is something that I learned, I found quite interesting. Doesn't make it better for the women who were not guilty of crimes, but one of the things that was actually quite common that they don't talk about is that they did find at this time burning at the stake to be quite a cruel punishment, and so they would also put a rope around their neck and they would let you start to burn just a little, and then they would choke you to death.
Okay.
So I don't know, like a reprieve. Just start, because basically in their mind you're going to hell, so you get to start to see what it's going to be like, and then they will choke, they'll strangle you with the rope. I was like, oh, what a late thank you, I guess. So so what happens now is the flames start, but they immediately take over too quickly, and they're not exactly sure what happened, but either the executioner's hands were burned too badly to continue holding the rope, or the rope just caught fire and busted away from being able to pull through her neck. So her body caught fire and was engulfed in flames pretty quickly. She was screaming. She was trying to stamp out the flames with her hands, so she's starting to flail. And she's screaming, "Oh God, what will I do?" And the executioner, this was just so intense. The executioner picks up a big giant rock and he throws it at her. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh. It's just crazy. A little bad day. Threw a rock at her head and then cracked open her skull.
What?
Just like she killed her husband.
What? That's crazy.
And it cracked open her skull, and like apparently it was pretty brutal, and it killed her immediately. And she was not the last, but one of I've done a couple of these, right? Where they're like the last person to be hanged in the state. So she was one of the last women to be burned at the stake in the UK.
Wow.
Not the very last, but one of them.
Wow.
The end. Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy. That took a twist I did not see coming.
Me neither. And it was interesting because I knew of it technically through the original source that I found, but I did not think that that's how I was listening to the whole story and reading and stuff, and I'm like, because it was marked as like the incestuous murderer, and I was like, but she doesn't have any children. I was like, holy shit. It was
my gosh,
it got me too.
Yeah. Wow, talk about a twist. Oh, that's nasty.
M. Night Shyamalan does.
Oh. Ew, yeah, I forgot she was young when she had him, because I was like,
yeah, she was only like 16, 17.
Yeah.
Pretty young.
Yeah.
It's like 19 plus 10
19,
is 20. Yeah. About 35 when she met him. Yep.
So she was 15 when she had her.
So.
Yeah. Wow. 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 That's crazy. You were right. You were like, oh, it's a good one.
It was just terrible, but
it is
like,
terrible.
Oh my
but
gosh,
I was like,
you'll just
whoa.
And
I did not see.
And it's crazy because I don't think I'm gonna always have this theme, but these are so interesting to me, and it kind of goes along the lines of what I mentioned last week and throughout. Like, we're always the same. People think the way people act nowadays is some new kind of thing. It's not.
No, people have been murdering people for a long time.
And cheating, and it's terrible. It really
thinking
is.
They can get away with murder by throwing a body in the river, or a head in the river. I knew that was not going to work, but
not even a day. It was the very next morning.
That's what I said. I was like, watch, it's like 2 hours later. It was the next day.
Morning. Yep.
Wow.
And the Thames is a fast-moving river, so I found it kind of. It was just there was a lot of things that were very.
Wow.
I just cannot believe that she got put out of her misery with a rock to the dome.
That's crazy.
So that's some
if you didn't tell me the rope thing before, I would have been like, why did he throw a rock at her? Let her burn. I thought that's the whole point. But I guess like wow.
They were, but like it had been outlawed pretty soon. I think it was only like 10 or 15 years later they were done. So they were finding the cruel and inhumane punishment of that part of the, which I think that because I believe if you burn to death, it's pretty terrible. If you don't, the smoke inhalation, it's pretty bad up to the end. It's really sad.
Yeah. Wow.
It's very, very sad. So it's interesting that they like even felt bad for a murderer.
Yeah.
But they still wanted you to suffer a little bit.
Yeah. Because she was the mastermind behind it all. Oh, and she slept with her son.
Still, I know. It was her son the whole time.
That grosses me out.
I know. And she knew.
That's what's gross. Is she knew.
Yeah.
She's a twisted person. She was. Like, this was a long time ago, but still. Ew.
Yeah.
Well, that was good. Good job. Well, with that horrible story.
You're welcome.
Stay crafty.
And not crimey. Bye.
Bye.